Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Bold Project Leadership webinar. Let me know if you can hear me. I saw a little comment from Neil that you weren't hearing any audio. So if you can hear me, yes, I see Melissa. Good to see you. Good to see you, Neil. Let me know in the chat where you're dialing in from. Some of the names on here I recognize. And I know we have a lot of folks signed up today and a lot of people who are eager to get their hands on the recording. So, okay, so we've got some Vermonters in the house, which is great. Some people from Dallas, Texas, some Colorado folks. What are Colorado folks called? Are they Coloradians? I don't know. Heather, tell me, correct me, please. All right, so let's jump in. Oh, Coloradans. Okay, I got it. All right, so if you are new and you haven't met me before, my name is Anne-Marie Curley. And I run a management consulting company here in Vermont called Newgrange IT Consulting. And we help our clients accelerate their ROI from projects and initiatives. Essentially, we help them execute their strategy. And we do that either by leading the projects for them or by helping them get a project off the ground or augmenting their team. Sometimes we're called into rescue projects. And I also like to spend my time really empowering and helping project leaders lead their teams, manage their projects, and create environments where their teams can be successful. And let me see. Okay, and here we go. And it's November now here in Vermont, so I am trying to psych myself up for the winter. These are some of the pictures from last week or last year. So some of the folks from Vermont can tell me, are you guys looking forward to the winter? This is me. This is who I am. I have 3 boys. I'm pretty active all the time. I lead projects. I help clients. And I've been trying recently to push myself outside my comfort zone. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So these pictures last year are of me learning how to skate ski, which wasn't pretty. I took a couple of knocks, so I have some bruises, and also doing some uphill climbing with my son as well. But lots of fun. And I think I'm getting ready for the winter. I'm not quite there yet. Okay, June, great. We've got some folks on from Burton, so they're ready for snowboarding. Yes, I have 2 snowbirds in the house, so awesome. All right, so let's jump in. I want you guys to just sort of take a big, deep breath and just let go of all of the other drama that was happening and all of the running around that you were doing prior to this time. And if you can, just minimize all of your distractions and really focus in for this hour that we have together. Anybody who's been on my presentations know that I've got a lot of information that's going to come at you in the next hour, and a lot that I'm going to encourage you to just take away and do some homework on your own as we get into planning for, what the end of this year looks like. It's still not too late. With like less than 60 days to go. It's not too late to accomplish some more big goals this year, but certainly we want to take a running start at 2022 and just be able to come back from the holiday period with a fresh approach and just rejuvenated and ready to hit 2022 just out of the ballpark. So take some time to just be here and sit with this today. And I will be encouraging you to block some time in your calendars at the end of the session to just be able to carry this forward over the next few weeks and give yourself some space to think it through. So let's talk about why we're here. Well, working in organizations today can feel a little bit like being in the middle of a rugby scrum. And, when you've got the ball and you're running with it, it's going great until someone takes you out at the knees. And, for most of you guys in the house, this is very similar to American football, except these guys are hardy. They don't wear any gear. They have no protective gear on. So, it's challenging, right? Lots of competing priorities, lots of changing priorities, rapid pace of change and pace of disruption, and things coming at us from just all directions. And as soon as we think we've got it under control, it changes again and something new is there, right? So every week and nearly every day brings something new. Guys, tell me in the chat if this resonates with you. Does this sound a little bit like your organizations, or do you feel like things have settled down a little bit as we go into the tail end of 2021? Okay. Leslie's saying absolutely. Right. So, and the upshot of this is that our team members are overwhelmed, they're stressed, and people are just feeling the burnout. They're just right across the board, people are feeling burnout. And, a lot of people are taking this time to, go search for where the grass is greener and leave their organizations. And, I have to say, from working with lots and lots of different clients, I'm not sure the grass is greener. I mean, I think it's, the environment and the climate is quite challenging, and I think the pace of change is going to continue to challenge us. But the rapid change and the rapid attrition that's happening is making it harder for everyone else who stays, because there's a lot more going on that they now need to assume responsibility for. So, today is really about equipping you with some just different perspectives and a different way of looking at things, so that you might be able to help create environments for your team to be successful, and to help to also maybe take some pressure off yourself and some stress off yourself as you navigate your way through this day to day. And I want to share just a couple of slides with you. This one shocked me. I found this a few weeks back for an executive presentation that I was doing, and this really shocked me. The hidden cost of disengagement is like 350 billion, and that's probably a conservative number. That's the number that was measured. But what really shocked me was the number of people who are engaged in our organizations is at 15%. Everybody else, the other 85%, are at some level of disengagement, and that itself has a huge impact on morale. It has a huge impact on the people who are trying to get stuff done, and everybody feels sort of bogged down in inertia and in chaos. And I'm sure you've all heard of the flight or fight syndrome, and what I see this is just like the fright, right? They're standing deer in the headlights and they're not going anywhere. They're stalled and they're stuck. So how do we get unstuck, right? It's really important that we think about how we get unstuck. And as managers in organizations, managers are responsible for setting up those environments where people can be successful. And you can see here in this study, managers account for 70% of the variance between employee engagement. So a good manager who's going to come in and really focus on their people, well, that organization is going to be up here in terms of engagement. And someone who's really just in that churn mode themselves and not really, running from meeting to meeting and not really doing what they need to do to look after the team, those are the folks who are going to have employees who are leaving and are disengaged and just are burnt out. And it's so important that we're all able to show up as our best selves, because our organizations achieve their mission through the projects that we are all leading, right? The work that you all do is essential for your organizations, and your organizations won't be able to accomplish what they need to accomplish without you being able to operate at your best and encourage and coach your teams to operate at their best. And so I want to also talk about the cost of distraction. And, I do talk about this quite frequently, but I love this graph because it shows it really clearly. So this shows the number of projects that we're working on. As the number of projects increases, our context switching increases, and the cost of that context switching increases. And it said it takes us about 7 minutes to get back on track when we're disrupted. Here you can see the dark blue shows the cost of that distraction. So the more projects that we are trying to do, the more priorities that we're trying to accomplish, the more distractions that are hitting us and disrupting our focus, the less we're actually able to get done. And, it's said when we have too many priorities, we have no priority at all. And I do see in a lot of organizations, there's way too many priorities going on and there's no clear priority. And when there's no clear priority, the team can't really rally behind that and get it done. So, tell me in the chat if this resonates with you, how much of your time do you think is productive versus non-productive? So there's a couple of books that I'm going to share with you as we go through this today. Meals Like 50/50. MBH 50-50 as well. Okay, yeah, that's probably fair, right? So, and you know, more projects, definitely less productive time, 60% productive. So, you know, really that's a lot of time being left on the table that we could use pulling back in, right? So this last weekend, I've had these two books sitting on my Kindle for about 6 months. And this last weekend, I read Effortless first, even though he wrote Essentialism first. I read Effortless first. And that was such a great read that I read Essentialism as well, back to back. And the key point here that I want to share with you, he shows this little diagram of where all your energy goes, right? So if you're expanding all of your energy in multiple different directions across multiple different things, you're dissipating it all around. That your energy is just going and you're not actually seeing results for all of the expansion of energy that you're putting out there. Whereas if you took all of those pieces of energy and you stack them to one priority, you would move mountains with that one priority. So, you know, his whole promise is we need to do less and we need to focus more, and we need to find sort of the easier path and stop making things challenging for ourselves. Be aware of how you're being distracted and really dial that back in and be disciplined. So we're going to talk about that today. So let's start with a definition of what a leader is. So a leader is just someone who takes responsibility for finding the potential in other people and helping to develop that potential and helping those people to succeed. So it's not about titles, it's not about the corner office, it's not about the big glass windows overlooking the city. It's about the ability to step up and have the courage to put yourself out there and have hard conversations and just take whatever comes your way and deal with it, and do that so that you can help advocate for your team and help your team be successful. And it requires both courage and discipline. And we need to be able to step up and bravely lead ourselves and boldly lead others to be able to accomplish this vision. And, you know, by doing this, we can make the impossible possible. You know, we have to remember that we're the project heroes, right? That's what we do. Do you guys feel like heroes? Tell me in the chat if you feel like heroes. If not, you know what, my mission at the end of the session is to make you walk away feeling like you can be a hero. So, you know, we can be the heroes in our own story. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, and really have you walk away from here with a clear view of how you can do that. So, all right, a hero some of the time. Okay, Neil, our goal is to get you to a hero 100% of the time by the end of the session. So what does that take, right? The core capabilities that we need to develop is agility and resilience. And, you know, our kids are having a massive lesson in this right now with schools. They're just learning this from the ground up. These are the two core traits that we need to be able to develop within ourselves so that we can develop them within other people. So being able to move quickly, be nimble, be flexible, being able to understand what's coming at you and absorb information quickly, not being stuck, right? The opposite of being stuck. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from something, the ability to, you know, shake something off, not hold it internally, just be able to let it slide off you. You know, I don't know if you guys have any managers that you might refer to as the Teflon guy. I mean, I've had managers in my past where, you know, that was the name we give them. It might not be a very complimentary name, but Teflon, nothing stuck to this person. They didn't let any of it bog them down. They just got on with it. And, you know, in some ways, that's what resilience is like. It's the ability to just let things slide off us, not to carry them with us, not to get bogged down by them. Spring back, come at it, and go at it again and again. And so we need to focus on building these muscles for ourselves, but we need to help our teams build these muscles as well. So I love this quote, because as we go through our session today, I want you to be aware for whatever comes up for you. So, you know, tell me in the chat how you're feeling. If something's triggering a reaction with you, make note of what that is. It's so important that we can pause and be aware, because it's the greatest agent for change. We cannot change if we're not aware of something, right? So we need to be present, be aware. Sheryl Sandberg says, we cannot change what we're not aware of it. And once we're aware of it, you can't help but change. When you see something about yourself, or you see something about how your team's operating, you then own that. You have to be, you have to change. You have to be able to figure out how to move through that and do it in a productive and way that's going to be successful for everybody. So are you guys aware of Robin Sharma? Has anyone read the book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari? So he's got a number of books. The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari is a great read. He's got a couple of different books that are very, very easy reads. His latest book is called The Everyday Hero. He talks about greatness begins beyond your comfort zone. So if you're comfortable, and if you're going about your day-to-day job and you're feeling very comfortable, or you're coasting, you're not actually growing. And if you're not actually growing, you're not going to be able to help your teams grow. And you're really not going to be able to accomplish what you need to accomplish for your organization. So you want to put yourself outside your comfort zone every single day. I started doing presentations like this about 15 months ago after COVID. I'd done a couple before COVID in early 2020, but I started pushing myself out there to do more and more presentations. It doesn't really come naturally to me. You know, I just get up and do it, and I try to, you know, push out some value so that people walk away with some value, and that's what keeps me doing it. But this is certainly outside my comfort zone, right? So push yourself outside your comfort zone, do something that makes you uncomfortable, and do it again and again and again until it becomes less uncomfortable. Eventually you might actually like it. I'm not quite sure if I'm there yet, but thank you, Neil. I appreciate the rah-rah. Okay, so the other thing that Robin Sharma says, which I really resonate with, an event, something that triggers you, plus your response equals some outcome. And I think this is really important to be aware of. What he says is that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. So, you know, our daily habits become our traits, and then eventually this builds into our personality. So if you start really small daily habits of being productive, being focused, being disciplined, being all of the things we're going to talk about today, if you can start those on a day-to-day basis, over time, those become solidified into habits, and then they become solidified into core capabilities and traits, and then that ultimately becomes your personality. That's just how you show up. You're not sure how to do it any other way, right? So that's something to carry with you as you move forward from here. The other message here that I want you to see is that we often talk about mindset, and it's not just, you know, how you show up and what you do, it's also how you think about it, but it actually goes way beyond mindset. And Robin Sharma has these 4 temples, or 4 interior empires. Mindset is one piece of it, the psychology is one piece of it, but heart set, how we feel and how we make others feel, that's a huge part of it too. And then your health set, how, you know, are you eating healthy? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you getting enough exercise? That's a core piece of it too. You can't show up and lead your team really well if you are not disciplined and looking after yourself and taking care of yourself, right? That's sort of serving others and putting yourself at risk. That's not a holistic way to approach this, and you're going to burn out if that's what you're doing. And the other piece of this is soul set. And I think about this as, you know, how we're aligning to our truth. So if something is really stressful for us, you know, really digging in and thinking about, well, why is that triggering me? Why am I stressed by that? What is that? What's the message that I need to hear? How is that not aligned with who I am? What's out of alignment here? And by pausing and considering these 4 aspects, you can really think about what you need to do to be your best self, and to be able to then give more of yourself to other people without depleting your own energy. So this book, if you know, some of these books that I'm going to recommend today are great books to have on your Christmas list. This book's a really easy read and really good read too. So Joe Dispenza is another one of my go-to mentors, and I'm actually really excited because I've been reading his books and doing his material for a couple of years, and he does these retreats, week-long retreats, and I've always wanted to go, but I could never, it never really gelled with the timing. There was always something going on with the kids or whatever. Anyway, so I am going on retreat to Mexico in December on retreat with Joe Dispenza, and I'm super excited about it, and I'm sure I'm going to have a ton of things that I want to come back and share with you all afterwards. So he really talks about energy and how you're showing up from an energetic perspective. So this, again, way beyond mindset, because if you're not feeling it, if you're not feeling the emotion of gratitude, for instance, if you're saying, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, or I'm very thankful that, but you're saying it in a very, I'm very thankful that I'm here today, you're not really, the energy's not there. You're not vibrating at that energy that's really going to make a difference. So, if you're going to lead a big meeting, or if you're going to, bring your team together and do a team building session, spend some time getting your energy up before you go into that room. Get yourself in the right headspace, get yourself in the right energetic vibration, and be able to carry that forward. And I'm sure you guys have been in meetings, whether it's in person or virtual. It's happened on both sides, where someone has brought down the temperature of that meeting, right? It could be just maybe a reaction. It could be how they've looked. It could be, the virtual eye rolling. It could be a sigh, a comment that they've made. It could be something that they're not saying at all, just their body language. And the tone and the energy in that meeting just depletes, right? Does that resonate? Do you guys know what I'm talking about here? I'm sure, we've all got examples, I think, of situations that have happened like this. So, your energy, where your focus goes, your energy flows. If you want to feel good about yourself, if you want to walk away feeling good, then you need to make yourself feel good. So forget about this, I'm going to feel good when I win $1 million, right? Well, what if you had $1 million today? What would you do with your day? How would it be different? Show up anyway, and just do it. And your energy will flow in that direction. So if you focus on what's wrong, that's all you're going to see. If you go to the car dealership and you're looking to buy a yellow car, and then you drive away from the dealership, all you're going to see is yellow cars, right? That's just how the universe works. So, so where you focus is where your energy goes, and that's what's going to grow and build. So the other thing I want you to recognize here is that most people are living Groundhog Day over and over and over again. So tell me, guys, in the chat, have you ever found yourself, you're driving to work or you're driving to the grocery store, and suddenly you've spaced out, and then you're at the store or you're at work or you're pulling into the garage? Has that ever happened with you guys? I have to tell you, it's happened with me, and it happens. I have to force myself to come back in when I notice that happening. Yeah, really creepy, says Melissa. So that happens all the time. But here's the thing. Most people are actually living their entire days like that. They're getting up in the morning, they're not being intentional about what they're going to spend their day on, and they're just showing up, dealing with whatever comes at them, reacting to whatever comes at them. And it's basically living the same day over and over and over and over again. And it's just constant hamster wheel. And that constant hamster wheel tends to burn us all out. So, the other thing here, if you are living this constant hamster wheel of being reactive all the time, then your stress hormones are firing all the time. You guys, let me know again, have you felt your stress hormone? Are you aware of it? And do you feel if your body's just like elevated from a stress perspective? That hormone becomes super addictive. And now your body is actually addicted to the release of that hormone, and your body's going to resist any other changes that you try to make it go through. So if you're sitting in Zen and you're doing your meditation in the morning and you're trying to put yourself into the right frame of mind, that's great. That's a good start. But then you get out and start your day, and suddenly you find yourself back on that hamster wheel again. And part of it's because your body just doesn't know how to thrive when it's not firing that stress hormone all the time. So change is a little messy in the middle. It takes a little bit of time, and you have to just constantly build these daily habits and build these resiliency and agility habits on a daily basis, build those muscles so that over time you basically snap away your old neurons that were telling you to do it that way, and you create these new neurons that tell you how to do it this way, and then you move forward doing it in a way that's much more I don't know, that would just make you much happier and make you much more productive. So this is a great book. He's got a lot of videos on YouTube if you want to be able to digest it. He's so factual. He's got lots of great graphs. He reads people's brains and sees what's going on as they meditate and stuff. So I'm totally geeked out by all the science behind this. So the key message here is life is about your management of your energy, and change is a choice. Make sure you're doing that instead of just reacting to your daily activities. So many of you guys have seen and heard me talk about the 6 pillars project leadership and engagement framework that I've created. And these are principles that we can bring in and apply to our day-to-day job. So I wanted to be able to go deeper into what does it really take to be successful and to help just change in face of all of these different constraints that we are faced with. How can we just start to change how we're showing up and shift that into a different direction so that, over time we're heading in this direction instead of continuing to spiral in that direction. So what I'm going to share with you today builds upon these. These are still very applicable because it's the very nuts and bolts of how we lead our teams and how we manage our projects. But the Project Leader Manifesto that I'm going to share with you is principles that you can adopt personally to start to shift how you show up, and that will start to shift how your team shows up. So, to create that coherent team, you need to start with you being in alignment with yourself. We have to be coherent for ourselves first and create that flow state and that discipline for ourselves, and then we can do it for our teams. And I think I might have shared this video with some of you guys. This is from Starling Formation in Ireland earlier this year, and they all came together in this video into a bird. It's super awesome to watch. Okay, so are we ready to dive into the Project Leader Manifesto? Are you guys excited? Tell me. So as we go through this, I'm going to go through 8 different principles of the Project Leader Manifesto. This is the first time that I'm bringing them to the light of day, so I'm really eager to hear from you guys. So be chatty in the chat. Tell me what's resonating. Tell me what's triggering for you. If there's something that's not sitting well with you, let me know what that is. I'm really curious to have you guys take these for a test drive and then report back and tell me what's easy, what's hard, how, what you've seen from a results perspective. So as we're going through it today, I'm going to talk through what they are, then I'm going to ask you some questions. Make note of what immediately comes to mind, because what immediately comes to mind shouldn't be discounted. Just scribble it down for yourself. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you what your next steps are around how to, just take stock and spend a little bit more time digesting this, and then coming up with a plan for your own plan and for development for 2022. Okay, so the first one is personal accountability. So I will take personal responsibility to lead myself first, to hold myself accountable, to avoid feeling like a victim of my environment, and to be continually looking for opportunities to elevate my awareness and improve myself. So there's a lot to unpack in there. Robin Sharma says, victims make excuses, leaders deliver results. So I want you to think about and tell me in the chat, where are you a victim? Is there any areas of your life where you're showing up and you're a victim to your circumstance? That victim energy is sort of a very, very low vibration. It's that very low energy, and you need to shift past it. You need to be aware, you need to recognize it, and you need to tell yourself a different story when you feel like it's coming up. Oh my God, I can never do this. This would never work in my organization. You know, this is great. I love that she's doing that, but she's got her own business. She can make her own decisions. You know, there's lots of different ways that that victim mindset shows up. So I want you to think about where that's showing up for you. How has your environment, you know, your environment growing up, your environment now, your family life, your work life, how is your environment conditioning you? You know, are you able to step forward boldly, or are you hiding behind some of that stuff in your environment? Are you afraid to make waves? Are you running on autopilot? Are you coasting? What does that look like for you? Do you know anybody who is very clearly in a victim mindset? And is there something that you can do to help shine a mirror to them, to help them be able to see it and be aware of it? Okay, so the next principle is to lead boldly. I will boldly lead myself and my team through uncertainty, creating clarity from ambiguity to facilitate a continued momentum to create powerful transformations that help us achieve our mission. Even saying this is a mouthful. I need to try and shorten them. So, you know, again, a lot to unpack, but, you know, I think the key message here is being able to lead people through uncertainty. I don't think we're ever going to go back to this world where things feel certain. And if they are, it's probably a bit of a myth, right? So, you know, we have to be able to deal with uncertainty. We have to be able to deal with things that are ambiguous. At the same time, we have to try to find clarity as best we can through that ambiguity and continue to move forward and not be stalled and stuck just because there's too much that's uncertain, right? We have to be able to continue to move forward. And that means being courageous, being bold, and just being able to just look at all of the different facts and make a decision about how to move forward. Lewis is saying the pandemic became a reason for not getting some results. Yes, people were in the victim mindset, oh my God, and also stuck, right? So much uncertainty. I don't know how this is going to play out, therefore I'm going to stay here and do nothing, right? So here I want you to ask yourself, how have you been holding yourself back? Can you say no and challenge competing priorities within your organization? Are you aware of how your team are feeling? What behaviors might you need to change yourself? What behaviors can you see in others that maybe they should change? And where have you been coasting, running in autopilot? And I know you're doing it because I do it too sometimes, right? And the trick is to try and capture where that's happening and try to shift out of it and try to refocus. You'll go back to that energy thing where you see that ball of energy and you're giving it away too many places. Refocus yourself, take a deep breath and move forward in one direction. So anybody coasting, anybody want to share where they're coasting? Is anybody coasting and ignoring people who are working with them who have a victim mindset or are causing friction and you don't want to deal with it? Because leaders boldly address those situations too. Okay, so our next principle is to connect meaningfully. So I will connect meaningfully to establish relationships that will strengthen and broaden my influence, to daringly help others rise to their potential, boosting our joint credibility and outcomes. So here Simon Sinek says, for instance, emails get reactions, phone calls start conversations. You know, in today's world, we're doing so much via email, text, one-liners, really short, terse bullet points, and we're doing less and less on the phone. I just read an article this week about how younger people, like, and I know it with my teens, they don't want to pick up the phone. It feels really awkward. They feel like they're disrupting somebody by picking up the phone, so they just shoot them a message instead. But when we're shooting people messages, that's very one directional and it's not really creating engagement. So, you know, it's better to maybe send a message to say, hey, I would love to talk to you about this. Can I get 10 minutes? And then create a zone for you guys to have a conversation. So here, how are you connecting with others? Do you feel like you're a peer of your executive team? Maybe guys, just tell me in the chat, like right now, do you guys all feel like you have a seat at the executive table? Do you feel like your executives in your organization are your peers? Can you advocate? Can you go to them and advocate quite truthfully and authentically with them for your team? Can you say, hey, here's where our team is, here's what I need from you, here's what our challenges are? Somebody's saying, yes, they can advocate, but there's no change. Yeah, you just need to keep going at it, right? Do you have credibility and influence with that executive team to create impactful changes? And what level of impact are you able to have on your team and your organization? So, this is it's so important to really be able to step back here and take a look at how we can build that credibility. And again, this is the long game, right? This is not, you're not going to build that overnight, but it takes you showing up, being in alignment, being able to be bold, be authentic, have that courage to be able to stand up and say, you know what, here's what's going on for our team. Here's where I think we need to go. I need your support to be able to do that. But that requires you actually seeing yourself as a peer to the executive team. You're all working to the better of the organization. The organization only works and achieves its mission if you guys are able to work together. And that makes you collaborators, not necessarily you beneath them, right? You're all at the table together. You're all working through it together. So you have to shift your perspective and your mindset around the value that you bring to the organization. If your executives are up here and you're down here, then they're in an echo chamber if they're not hearing from you. They've got this sort of little vision that they're seeing, but they're not seeing the full perspective because they don't have the boots on the ground. And it's your job to be the boots on the ground and be able to tell it how it is. And you can do so respectfully. You can do so in a way that's not going to jeopardize your career and will continue to build those strong relationships for you. But you have to start feeling like you have value and you should be at that table. That's the starting point for you. So I want you to think about how you can do that going into the new year. Okay, next up, I'm going to keep moving. I know you all probably have a 2 o'clock meeting to go to. So the next one is foster engagement. So I will communicate clearly to foster engagement, holding space for transparent dialogue that allows everyone to share and acknowledge their opinions and feelings, and embracing the learning opportunities presented by friction and conflict. Again, so there's a lot to unpack in there, but ultimately it's saying that you're going to be bold, you're going to have courage, you're going to be daring, you're going to put yourself into conversations and not coast your way through conversations. You're going to shine a light on the things that are uncomfortable. It's probably going to make you uncomfortable to do that. It might make other people uncomfortable, but ultimately it's going to help you all move forward in a way that's going to yield better outcomes for your organization, but it's also going to help you feel better about what you're doing from a day-to-day perspective. So fostering engagement through uncomfortable conversations and being okay feeling uncomfortable. Guys, tell me in the chat, are any of you okay feeling uncomfortable? What's your natural reaction if you feel discomfort? Is it to shy away from it? Is it to go, yay, more discomfort, I'm going to grow here? Anybody, yay, more discomfort, I'm going to grow here? I'm not sure I'm in the yay, more discomfort, I'm going to grow here. Although I have to say, I think I shared this book on a prior call, The Obstacle is the Way. I read this in March 2020 when COVID hit. So now when I'm uncomfortable, I'm at least aware and I can say, okay, what do I need to learn from this? How do I need to approach this differently? So you might not be celebrating the discomfort, but even if you can get to just being aware, oh, I'm uncomfortable. Why am I uncomfortable? Let me think about what I might need to learn here. What is this situation trying to teach me? So keeping quiet, and I think we've got a delay on the chat. So here's the questions. How do you handle friction and challenges? How do you handle conflict? Are you asking tough questions? And are your team able to challenge each other? And so have a think about these questions as you're thinking about how you're showing up and as you're being aware, as you go forward and be aware post this conversation here today. So conflict requires listening. Yes, observation as well. Observation is another great word, as well as listening. So listening, the voice and the words, but observations, the actions, the feeling that goes along with that too, and maybe also some of the things that they're not saying. Okay, promote coherence. So here I will foster an environment centered on collaboration, promoting coherence and synergy to facilitate a flow of positive energy and achievement, empowering the team to self-organize, developing their expertise and skills. So what we're saying here is that you're going to be really aware of the climate on your team and how you influence the climate on your team, making sure that your team can come together and really create that flow and synergy. So what does that really mean? It means that you need to be planful about how you show up for meetings and create situations where your teams can truly collaborate. Create focus times where there's no distractions, where people are able to come together and do the work. So what's that overall climate like on your team right now? Has anybody here got kids? So my oldest has just gone to college. And I remember the very first time that he joined the brass band in middle school, and we went to the 5th grade middle school concert. And tell me if anybody else knows what I'm talking about here. So the very first concert that they have in 5th or 6th grade, a month or just weeks after they pick up those instruments for the first time, and then they all start playing, it's like, oh my God, it's not the most pleasant experience, right? It's like, it just feels very out of tune. The notes are all hitting and sort of banging off the ceilings and reverberating inside your head, and doesn't feel very good. And then fast forward 6 months later, they have their second concert, and now suddenly they're playing in synchronization, and it sounds so much better. Now, it might still not be Carnegie Hall quality, but it's pretty good when you remember what they were like just several months beforehand. Now, most of our teams are operating like that 5th grade band that have just gotten their instruments and they're only a few weeks into it. It's feeling very disjointed. It's feeling very uncomfortable. It's making our heads hurt. And instead of addressing it and tackling it because it feels like it's too big a problem to solve, we shy away from it, and we then just maybe stop meeting with them or reduce the meeting cadence, or only meet with that person when you have to meet with that person. It's really important that as leaders, we create an environment and a climate where we can actually bring people together and create that synergy and create that flow and create that coherence, so that we can actually come together in harmony and actually deliver what we need to deliver, and deliver those outcomes that are really important for our organization. So tell me, how does your teams feel here? Do they feel like they're in sync and coherent? Does it feel reactive and disjointed? Are your teams feeling like the 5th grade band, or are you more like the 6th grade experts when they've all come together? I think Zoom webinar has got a delay, so I'm not seeing messages until a couple of minutes after they show up. So, okay, so Anna Maria says, depending on the stage that the team is in, yes. I mean, I think even with some teams that are well established, it's still a little disjointed, right? So there's maybe a couple of people that are marching to the beat of their own drum and not necessarily marching to the beat of the team's drum, and then that sounds a little disjointed. Okay, so next one up is to be self-disciplined. So I will be self-disciplined and organized so that I can manage and guide all of the work activities, providing the knowledge and support that the team needs to accelerate the delivery of innovative and high quality outcomes. So this is essentially saying that, you know what, your team can't be organized if you're not organized. So if you're running, firing by the seat of your pants and reacting constantly and running from meeting to meeting, well, you're not able to pause and prepare information in a way that is going to move your team forward towards your outcomes. So how are you showing up daily? Are you laser focused on your top priority? Are you laying a foundation for your team so that they can execute on it? Are you disciplined? Are you organized? Or are you just running meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting, scattered and disorganized? Are you adding to your team's burden? Or is every minute that they spend with you valuable to them? So are you, pausing before you go into a meeting, thinking, okay, what do I need to get out of this meeting? Who's in it? How can I lead them forward? And how can we get done in half the time? If you're not pausing and being self-disciplined and really working through that yourself, then you're wasting your team's time, and you're actually part of the cause for the burden that they carry on a day-to-day basis. So have a think about this and have a think about how you're showing up. Some of you guys who know me know that I use this. I don't know if you can see that. Like, this is my daily planner. So I have, at this end of the week, I jot down my plan for the following week. Every day I refer to this and I think, what's the #1 thing I need to get done today? And before I go into meetings, I take the time to plan out those meetings. And some of the folks that are on this call have been in meetings with me, and I bet you can tell when I have shown up I'm running from meeting to meeting and I haven't been able to take that 5 minutes to get organized. I know that you know what I'm talking about, right? The meetings don't tend to go so well. It takes me a couple of minutes to sort of catch up and get in the zone. And luckily, if I'm lucky and can catch it, I can fix it. But there's a lot of people who never actually quite catch it, and the meeting just continues to go like this, and people walk away from the meeting going, why did we just do that? And then the project leader shows up the following week and does the same thing again. It's so frustrating to team members. So really important that you build your own self-discipline muscle first. Okay. So next up is to be inspirational. I will boldly and confidently inspire, motivate, and lead the team through change and uncertainty, navigate through friction and conflict to foster a culture of integrity, authenticity, shared awareness, and continual improvement. So here, what's really important is just, again, being brave, being courageous, being bold, and thinking about how you are going to be there as a cheerleader, not in an inauthentic way, a very authentic way, coming into this with positivity, being able to show people a different perspective. I'm not saying that you discount all of the worries that they're bringing to you, that you don't want to tell them that, I don't want to hear any problems. You want them to be able to come to you and you want to be able to solve those problems. But at the same time, you want to be able to inspire them to think differently and motivate them to look at things from different angles and be able to create that team that's able to come together and, conduct retrospectives and say, hey, how are we doing as a team? What should we start? What should we stop? What should we continue? How do we continually get better at what we're doing? How do we make this easier, right? You want to be able to have those conversations. You want to be able to bring your people together. And that's all about the energy that you are approaching your engagements with. What vibration is your energy resonating at? Are you up here or are you down here? Are you that, oh my God, I can't get out of this. This organization's killing me. The stress of dealing with this is killing me. If so, that's how you're going to come across, and you're never going to be able to be inspiring to people, right? Because your energy is just vibrating at the wrong level. So can you put that aside? Can you really think about, how you're showing up? What energy are you bringing into conversations? And how can you inspire people to think about things differently? The saying that a problem shared is a problem halved. So if you can show up and inspire and motivate people and raise their energy levels, then they'll walk away from interactions with you already feeling a little bit lighter in their approach. They'll have a little bit of a spring in their step. And you can do that. You can do that easily without even changing their workload, right? You can just have them think about it a little differently. So whether you're in person, whether you're virtual, your team can feel your energy. You can influence the mood in the room. You can either elevate everybody's energy or you can bring it down. So you want to choose to inspire and motivate and elevate energy. And then create this culture of continual retrospectives and continual improvement, because that's how you will all grow as a team. So it doesn't happen by accident. And I want you to think about what can you do to inspire and motivate your team in face of the constraints that you're all working within, right? Is it, just a weekly session where you come together and maybe you pick one thing that you tackle per week? It doesn't have to be everything. Pick something that feels achievable and then build in those weekly touch points and build in those weekly wins. It could be as simple as getting a sticky note with your team and saying, hey, every Friday, let's have a celebration of what our wins are. And we're going to create sticky notes and we're going to scribble down all our wins and we're going to stick them on a wall, take a picture of them, and we're just going to celebrate our wins. It could be something really small like that. So you can think about what you could do for your team, but then you've got to show up and do it, right? That's the being bold idea. Show up and do it and try it out. Maybe it's 5 minutes at the start of your team meeting, right? It doesn't have to be an hour-long meeting. These things can be done really simply. Okay, and lastly, and maybe most importantly, people first. I will keep a clear focus on people, relationships, and engagement to boost our team's impact, our outcomes, and our results, so that together we can achieve the mission that our organization and the world needs us to achieve. If you start by thinking about people first and putting people at the center of your attention, then you will show up differently. If you tend to be a very process-driven person or a very checklist-driven person, and you move away from that and actually center your thought on people, what do these people need to get out of this meeting? What do they need to be able to do? What information do they need? And you show up with that intention to help them, then you're going to show up in a way that's going to help them move forward, right? So the lens is just slightly different. You're thinking about the people, you're thinking about how you're going to help them, how you're going to move them all forward, and how jointly you're all going to move your organization forward. And that shifts how you're showing up. So put people at the center of everything you do and show up differently around that. So have a think about what your team, do your team feel like they have your attention? Do they feel the energy of your focus? Tell me in the chat if you guys feel like today that your team would answer yes to those questions. Do they feel like they have the full attention of your focus, and that they have your best energy, and that they have your attention? And is there something else that you can do to better support them? And what does that look like? Okay, so this is one you might want to take a screenshot of, short and sweet. This is the 8 pillars, 8 principles for the Project Leader Manifesto. And, the concept is to go out there and lead boldly. And so I would love to hear your feedback on this manifesto. Do these principles resonate with you? Are there any that you think are not achievable, and why? And think about which principle you might need to focus on most. And, this is a lot to take in right here. I'm going to give you guys access to the recording and some additional material. Block some time in your calendar, go through this and really think about it, and think about how you can implement this for you and your team. So Simon Sinek says that leadership is a learnable skill. It's not, you're not born with it and then you never have it. It's like, it doesn't work like that, right? You can teach yourself, you can coach yourself to lead. And you can do that by like reading lots of materials, or, trying to follow people who maybe read a lot of materials and distill them for you, which is, partly what I try to do. You really think about how you can lead your team, how you can coach them, how you can mentor them. By leading your team, you will teach yourself how to lead better if you put your team front and center there. And think about an infinite mindset of continuous improvement. So you see opportunity in uncertainty, you see, you create that awareness where you can think about what makes you uncomfortable, why it makes you uncomfortable, and what you might need to do about it. So the choice is yours. I'm putting all of this in your hands. You can control your reaction. The biggest piece of all of this, and probably the hardest piece of all of this, is to be present and be aware. So if you can create that moment of awareness, pause, take a beat, just really think about it, take a beat, 1, 2, 3, count it in your head. Oh, I'm not going to react. I'm aware of something going on here. I'm not going to react. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me choose my response, right? The fight or flight, that response, I think that dissipates in like 20 seconds or something like that. So, you can, if you wait it out 10 or 20 seconds, then your brain, that chemical reaction in your brain is not going to fire, and you can choose how you react to something. You can choose to let something trigger you, or you can choose to become more curious and ask questions about it. So be aware, create that awareness, pause, take a beat, choose what your next step is, then assess the outcome and just forgive yourself and keep doing it and move on. And when you start to try this out, you'll find that maybe initially you'll become aware after the event and you'll go, oh, I should have done that differently, or I should have handled that differently. And so that's good, right? That's at least some awareness, whereas maybe before you might not have had any awareness. So awareness after the event is okay, but try to bring it back in so that you're having the awareness during the event. Okay, I can see that she's really angry. I wonder what's going on with her. Let me just pause and think about this and ask maybe a question that might help develop this into a conversation, as opposed to what I might have done in the past, which was shut her down and move on, right? So just try to create that little space for the awareness and space to think through something. So change is a choice instead of a reaction. So, you know, again, this is a very fast and furious 55 minutes with you here. Hopefully you've gotten something from this. I'm going to give, if you're part of my 𝘘𝐿𝑎 community, I will give you guys access to a capability sheet that you can use to assess all of your capabilities. Take a time to do this for yourself. Again, you can't really lead yourself. You can't really lead your team if you don't know your starting point, right? So block time in your calendar, give yourself the gift of doing this for yourself, and then create a plan for what this looks like in your in the new year as you go forward. If you're not in my community, you can just click on this link right here and sign up. It's free, and there's a lot of great material in there. And the key thought to walk away with here is this quote from Henry Ford: whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right, right? So whichever way you think about it, if you think you can do it, you're going to be able to do it. If you think you can't do it, you're not going to be able to do it. So which one would you choose, right? Hopefully you would choose that you think you can and then go after it, but it requires you being bold. And I want to also give you access to this slide. So this is like a daily planner. So take a minute to just screenshot this slide and then maybe print it out and use this as a way to keep yourself honest as you move forward through this, taking some of this into your daily activities. And finally, you know, if I can help elevate your team, reach out, grab some time in my calendar, and let's have a chat about it, and let's see what we can do to either help your team assess where they are, or really maybe just have a conversation with your team to help them think about things differently. So reach out and get in contact with me. And here is my contact information. And I'm just going to jump across and see if we've got any questions. If you do have questions, put them in the Q&A. I see someone has asked me to put the manifesto back up, so I'm going to slide back to that. There we go. So you can screenshot this as well. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys. You know, I really want to hear from you. Let me know when you step back and when you go through the exercise. Let me know what is coming up for you. If you've got suggestions on how I can simplify the manifesto, please reach out, because even as I was reading through them, there was so much to unpack in each one of those 8 principles that I know it's probably a little challenging to digest all of that as well. So really take time to go through this, and I'm curious to hear from you as you go forward. And if you have questions, I'm happy to stay around and answer those questions. Just pop those into the Q&A or the chat. I've got the chat up here as well. Okay, thank you all. I'm going to bring this one back up so you can screenshot this one, and I'll bring my contact information back up, and then that's it for today. Okay, so I hope that you all stay in touch, and I hope to see you soon, and take care. Bye.